So thank you guys for being with me tonight. My name's Amy Welch. I'm a Sapphire with Plexus. And on tonight's Tuesday Huddle, I want to talk about how to talk about Plexus so people are going to want to buy it. Oftentimes we say how to close. I don't often like to use those words because sometimes how to close makes it sound like we're convincing or we're forcing someone to buy it. And that is not what we do in this business at all. So how to talk about Plexus is actually, guys, a skill. Nobody knows how to do that when they start. Okay. So I want you guys to know that if you are vomiting Plexus, if you feel like you're stumbling all over yourself, if you've told somebody too much information, not enough information, we all have done that. Okay. Learning how to actually talk about Plexus in a way that people want to then, at the end of the conversation, buy it from you is a skill. And the great thing about a skill is that you can practice it and you can hone it and you can learn more about it. But I will tell you that if you do not learn this skill and practice this skill, then you're not going to be successful at Plexus. A lot of people wonder, like, oh, what's the perfect message that you guys send to get people to join Plexus? It's not a perfect message. It's that skill of learning how to talk to them. And we're going to go through some ways tonight on some key things you want to practice and learn, and then also how to close. If anybody can come up with a better word, like better phrase than how to close, that'd be great. It's almost like how to help people come to the decision that they want to try Plexus. But one of the major ways that I learned, so when I started Plexus, I had zero experience in sales and network marketing, any of that. So one of the ways that I learned was two things: three-way messages. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But then also network marketing books, and even sales books. Because listen, I know we like to say all the time, we share Plexus, we don't sell it. That's actually not true, guys. We are selling the heck out of some Plexus. Like it or not, that's what we're doing. We are salespeople. And there are some sales strategies that will benefit you. But when you're looking at that, I want you to think of more in terms of servant sales, how you add value and how you can impact people, and not kind of old school sales techniques from the 80s, right? That's kind of the stuff that makes us feel kind of icky. But doing those three-way chats and educating and really becoming a student of network marketing will help you. So when you talk about Plexus, though, remember this little phrase: facts tell, but stories sell. Because listen, nobody cares about the Black Friday sale and what a good deal it is. Nobody cares how amazing ProBio is and how many strains it has and the antifungal and the enzymes. Nobody cares how much you know about the ingredients unless it relates to them and you have shown them the value that Plexus has for them. So oftentimes when you're talking about Plexus, or even if somebody messages you, you need to lead the conversation. Because here's the thing: we know all about Plexus, or we at least are sharing Plexus. The person coming to us, they actually don't, and they don't know what they should be asking us. So I want you to get comfortable leading the conversation. What I mean by that is, if you have somebody come to you and say, hey, I saw you post about Plexus, tell me how much it is. And you're like, oh, well, the triplex is $100. You can get started with a welcome pack for $109, blah, blah, blah. That is not leading the conversation, because listen, they're going to walk away. We've not told them how Plexus can help them, right? Price should come last. So you want to redirect that conversation, because what the person should actually be asking you is, how can Plexus help me? Okay. So when you're talking about it, it's usually going to be on social media. Sometimes you're in person, but the great thing about this business is we can reach a ton of people on social media. But when you are talking to that person, whether it's over text or Messenger or Instagram, I want you to act like the conversation is in person. So do not send more than a few sentences at a time, because if you were in person, you would not go into all the details, right, about all the ingredients with ProBio and what the sale price is. You would have more of a back and forth conversation. And that's really what we want to talk about when we talk about how to share Plexus. I kind of follow this 5-step kind of follow-up process. And I've got some things outlined in here. If you guys want to take notes, I'll also drop them afterwards so you guys can have them. But this kind of 5-step follow-up, or this 5-step how to talk process is something I've done since day one. And I learned it through those 3-way chats with my sponsor. Okay. So somebody is curious about Plexus. I explained to them what Plexus is in one sentence. That's it. So if you've not practiced kind of your elevator speech or what Plexus is when somebody approaches you, you want to practice that. Okay. Then I immediately ask them, what do you want Plexus to help you with? What are your health goals, right? Oftentimes we feel like we have to really build up Plexus and how great it is so the person wants to buy it. But really the best thing we can do is step back and ask them questions and get them talking, okay? So I explain what it is in a sentence, and then I ask them what the heck they want Plexus to do for them, or if they have any health goals. When they give me those back, then I make a specific product recommendation that can help their health problem. Now, if they list a whole bunch of them, then I might say, you know, the triplex would really be good for X, Y, and Z. Tell me what your budget is. I always want to know and ask these questions so I can make a really good recommendation for them, right? Because you don't want to be recommending a 209 welcome pack if they can only afford $30, okay? So I encourage you to ask questions. The very last thing when you're talking to someone is talking about how to purchase, sending them to your website, or talking about price, right? But let's back up. Let's back up a minute. Before any of that ever happens, one of the most important things you can have, and again, this is a skill, this is something that you're not going to have if you're brand new and it grows over time, is confidence, okay? Because you guys have probably heard, it doesn't matter what you're selling. If you are confident and excited, this person's going to buy anything from you, okay? And you build that confidence by being on calls like this, by watching recordings. I built my confidence by going to events where I heard other people's testimonies, by participating in online events, corporate phone calls. I mean, back when I started, like our team calls and our corporate calls, you dialed into a 1-800 number. There were no like Zooms, there were no videos. I mean, it sounds like it was, 100 years ago, but it was just 2015. But we dial into an 800 number, and that would be the call, and you would hear a testimony, and then you get a quick training, okay? But that's the confidence that you want to have when you're talking to somebody. And you always want to use positive language and assume the sale. We're not pushy, but we're so confident. You're going to say things like, I can't wait for you to get started on Plexus. You're going to love it once you order. Instead of things like, well, let me know what you think. Is it something you might be interested in? Right? You want to use that positive language and always assume the sale. The other thing is, what do you say when you're talking about Plexus? Okay. Because people, again, don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. So sharing Plexus is really no different than sharing something else, but we project onto ourselves that it is. For some reason, we get it in our head because we're making money off of it. We got to share it in a different way. But I encourage all of you guys to talk about Plexus like you're not going to receive a dime. Okay. Separate that. Because we know these products work and this person's going to get help from them, whether or not you get a commission off of it, right? So think about it like this. When you share a new restaurant with somebody, do people expect you to know who the chef is, where he was educated? How about their health department rating? Do they expect you to know everything on their menu? How about where they buy all their ingredients for all their dishes? No. People just want to know that you love their food or their service, and they trust you because that comes through when you're talking about that. So when you talk about Plexus, I want you to focus more on your passion and your belief and what it's done for you, or if you're new, what you hope it's going to do for you, what you've heard it's done for other people. And I want you to worry less about knowing anything about Plexus. And I want you to be okay with telling someone, I don't know. People are going to ask you a question and you're not going to know the answer to it. And that's okay. It is okay to say, you know what? I have never been asked that before, but I'm going to find out and I'm going to get back to you. Right? So that is going to come through with the positive language. You don't want to be wishy-washy. You want to be confident. You always want to assume the sale. And then what I like to do And again, I don't have the right words to make this sound not salesy, but I always like to turn the conversation around and have the last word. Even if Plexus is not for them, I don't want to leave the conversation with any of their misconceptions. Okay. So if somebody says to me, for example, you know what, Amy, I'm not interested. I'm just going to work out and eat healthy. And I'll say, hey, that is awesome that you want to, eat healthy and work out. And I understand Plexus is not the right time for you right now. Totally cool. Just want you to know though, supplementation is very important and everyone needs it regardless of how healthy you eat and how much you work out, right? Because I don't want the conversation to end with any misconceptions about Plexus. So I usually always end with maybe a follow-up question, even if they're not interested. And you want to let people off the hook. Sometimes you have to give people permission to tell you no for them to be able to say yes. Because again, we're not in the convincing business. That's not what we do. Okay. We're not projecting onto someone. It's not for up to us to decide for them. It's up to us to give them the options. And sometimes if we're only giving them the option to buy, we're not giving them the option to say, you know what, now's not a good time. And so that's when you end up getting ghosted. That's when you end up getting people who don't reply to you. Okay. So think about that. If you have some conversations, or if you're like, man, if you made your list today as part of our gold group, or if you made your list and you're following up with people maybe about the Black Friday sale that's coming, and you find you're getting ghosted a lot, think about, go back and look. Are you kind of in the convincing mindset? Are you in the vomiting Plexus mindset? It's okay if you are, we've all done it, but know you can learn from that and you can overcome it. There are many times where I have gone back to people and I've been like, listen, Linda, I owe you an apology. I was so excited for you to try Plexus. I totally like word vomited Plexus all over you and probably overwhelmed you with all the things. I want you to know it's not hard. I did not mean to overwhelm you. And if you want to chat and I'll make it simple for you, that would be awesome, right? It's totally okay to fall on your sword because we've all done that. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind though, when you're talking about Plexus is remember you have third-party tools. Because listen, 99% of the time, people don't care about ingredients or science or results. I've been doing this for 6 years. I can count on one hand. And I've signed guys like hundreds. I think I'm in the almost close to 200 level ones. I'm very, very wide. I can count on one hand the number of people that have come back and really wanted to know the nitty gritty ingredients, science, scientific studies. But for some reason, oftentimes when I see people or they put me in a three-way chat, they lead with that. It's almost like you're overcompensating. You think that someone is a skeptic, but maybe it's because you're still a little bit of a skeptic. Your belief isn't so big. So you want to hit all of these people with all this, kind of rush them with all this information. So then maybe they won't ask about it. Okay. But listen, they just care that you're super passionate about Plexus. It again, like making that restaurant recommendation. They're not going to ask you for the chef's credentials. They're not going to ask you for the health and safety rating. And if they do, the handful of people, the good news is we have all that information. Okay. We have all the scientific studies, the clinical trials, the ingredients, the research, the videos from the doctors, all of that. You don't have to, though, lead with that. Because the minute you start talking to someone about Plexus, unbeknownst to you and them, you're actually modeling this business for them. Okay. So if you're someone who's a major recruiter and you have a lot of level ones, but you don't have any business builders, it's because you talk too much. You're making it too hard. And they may not even be thinking about the business, but they're already in their subconscious thinking, whoa, like that is a ton of information. I could never do that. I could never know that. Okay. So it matters that when you're talking to this people and you want to keep it simple and professional and positive because you're also modeling that behavior. So instead of if someone does ask you a science question, instead of just regurgitating it, even if it's a copy paste, use a third party tool. You want to send them. The Plexus Worldwide YouTube page is phenomenal for third-party validation. Our entire science team, Dr. Hartman, Dr. Pacheco, and Dr. Logan have videos on there. I send those all of the time. The other thing, I thought it was in here. Yeah, let me show you. The other thing that I use a lot for a third-party tool is this Exceed magazine. Every quarter they come out with it. Every quarter it's digital. Everyone has something about our ingredients or our science. Right here, this latest issue, it has our medical advisory board. Okay, it's got the scientific advisory board with Dr. Cheskin, Dr. Morete, and Dr. Versalovic. I bet you guys probably didn't even know some of their names, right? I certainly didn't. It's in here. So you can use this as a third-party tool too, okay? But eventually, you have to stop talking about Plexus, and we do have to close the deal, right? So here's what I want you guys to think about when it comes to closing the deal, because sometimes we get stuck in this like relationship building follow-up phase, and eventually you just got to ask them to make a decision, right? So do not be attached to no. You guys have heard us say that. You got to get off the roller coaster, okay? No is not a personal attack. No doesn't mean forever. It's like the waitress at the restaurant who asks every table if they want coffee. If the table says no, they just move on to the next one. And they may circle around and ask them if they want coffee, and they may say yes the next time, okay? So you keep going, you just move on to the next, but then you go back to them, right? Every time you get a no, you are planting a seed. But how you respond to that no could be the difference between it becoming a yes and it becoming another no. So you always want to tell people, like, I totally understand if it's not the right time. I totally understand if it's not for you. Listen, even though I think everyone should be on Plexus, it's not for everyone. In fact, I don't know who said this. I think maybe Suzanne from my team said this at our team retreat. She said, not everyone actually deserves Plexus. And I thought that was so brilliant because it's true. Not everyone deserves it, right? People, not everyone's ready for it. So plant those seeds, but become unattached and be totally okay if someone says no. Don't ghost a no on our end, and don't take offense to it, okay? Because it's really just a numbers game. Like, when I say that, I don't mean to treat people like a number, right? We really want to add value and impact people, because we know if we can get them on the products, we can really help them. But on the flip side, it is a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more you're going to get, right? The bigger your business is going to grow, okay? And everyone's going to get objections when it comes to the close. It's how you handle those objections that can really make a difference, okay? Just because you get an objection doesn't mean they don't want to start Plexus or they don't want to try Plexus. It's just normal skepticism or a lack of knowledge or even fear of something new. And that's okay. It's totally expected. If somebody brings up an objection, I want you to be really bold in handling it. But that comes from confidence and conviction. It can't come from fear and uncertainty. Because if you're not sure and you really don't believe in these products, this business, this industry, or this company, then when you reply to an objection, you might be a little on the defense. And we don't want to do that, okay? We want them to see our positivity and our confidence. We don't want them to see our hesitation, our fear, or we don't want them to project uncertainty. So many times I've seen where people are talking about Plexus and they honestly think it's expensive and they project that onto their potential, right? And they're afraid to talk about the 209 welcome pack, or they're afraid to ask what their budget is, because deep down, they actually do think it's expensive, okay? And so you project that onto that. Whatever your fears are that you're holding on to, whether you have a fear of success, you have a fear of being a leader, you have a fear that you're never gonna rank to your next rank, you have a fear, whatever those are, you are gonna project those until you hit those fears head on, and it comes through in how you talk. Now, it doesn't mean stop talking to people. And, still talk to people. Listen, we all fumble our way through learning how to talk about Plexus and learning how to be successful, okay? But when someone brings up an objection, if you do hesitate or you turn defensive, that can make them bring up even more objections or decide not to move forward. But on the flip side, when someone has an objection and you respond with confidence, they're just going to either join or purchase. I really have not seen it go any other way. 99% of the time, those objections are just because they don't know. I mean, I thought it was a pyramid scheme too. I just didn't know. I thought it was, nobody needed supplements either. I just didn't know. So someone had to educate me. And then guess what? When she educated me, I joined right there on the phone. Okay. So be your best self, be confident in what you are selling, and don't get so caught up in whether or not you're saying the right thing. I really want everyone to focus on passion and belief when you're talking about these products. And sometimes it's even better to hit the objections head on. So then they're just out of the way, right? Oftentimes you can tell, like if somebody comes to me right away and was like, well, how much is it? Like, I can't afford anything too expensive. Listen, that's a price objection without even talking about Plexus first. So you just hit it head on. Say, listen, I thought it was expensive too, but I actually realized it isn't. What are you looking to spend on your supplements? What's your budget, right? I had someone the other day who that was the very first thing. She was very, very worried about price. And so I finally said, listen, I want to help you. I will help you. I can work with you, whatever your budget is. But are we talking a $30 a month budget? Or are we talking $150 a month budget? Doesn't matter to me. I just need some parameters so I can recommend the right product. Well, she came back and said she'd do 125 for the next, 6 months because she's really committed to feeling better. So that's all I needed to know. Great, great. $125. Awesome. Then I know what I can recommend for you to make sure she's going to be able to keep ordering, right? And sometimes if you don't have those conversations, you get somebody, especially, listen, there's sales coming up, right? Black Friday's coming up. There's big sales. You don't want somebody to join and then you didn't have the conversation. So then all of a sudden they're like, oh man, I caught it on a sale. I got that super cheap welcome pack, but I can't afford this next month. And I don't want to share. I don't want to use my referral. So I'm just going to quit. Right. So have those conversations. Many times when I've talked to some people, if they do not have the budget for it and they're not willing to share, I tell them, okay, if you really want this to work and you really, want help with your migraines, you always want to bring it back to how Plexus is going to add value to them. Right. So don't speak in generic terms. Relate it back to them as often as you can, which you can only do if you're asking questions and really listening to the person. So I'll bring it back and I'll say, listen, if you really want help with your migraines, and I know you're going to feel better when you do, then for the next 3 months, I want you to save your money. And when you can save enough for the next 3 months to order for the 90 days at worth, then you can come back to me and we can order. Can I follow up with you again on September 17th? Right? And so they'll say yes. So oftentimes you really want to meet people where they are. Sorry, guys, let me check the chat real quick. Oh man, here we go. Chat is blowing up. Sorry if I missed it earlier, guys. It wasn't showing up for me. So yes, I love the third-party tools. Oh, I did want to talk really quickly. We only have 7 minutes left. So you guys have any questions? If you want me to answer any of like, hey, Amy, how would you respond to this? How do you usually handle this? Let me know. One thing I want to say about three-way chats, and actually Sarah talked about them on the call last week. Remember, she talked about how she earned leaders in 3 weeks and she uses three-way chats all the time. Okay. Well, there's actually still kind of a skill or a system to three-way messages, because I've actually, seen some people try to do them, but not really know how. Okay. So if somebody reaches out to you about Plexus, you still want to have kind of that 5-step chat process where you ask them, what their health goals are, explain Plexus in 1 sentence, maybe even make a product recommendation. But then at that moment, that's when you do the three-way chat. Okay. And you never ask permission to do a three-way chat. Because listen, ain't nobody going to give you permission to go in a three-way chat with a stranger about something that they're probably skeptical about anyway. I wouldn't have done it. I've been like, peace out. No way. You're going to try to ambush me with some stranger to buy your stuff. Okay. Never ask permission. All you do is put them into a three-way chat with your sponsor or whoever your power partner is. Or sometimes I'll even use a three-way chat with somebody who has that specific health issue. And I'll say, hey, listen, I'm going to add you to a three-way chat with my friend Kate. She, also has MS, and I really think that you would benefit from hearing from her experience and not mine. Or I'll say, I'm going to add you to this three-way chat because I want to make sure I recommend the right products. And my friend Sarah knows way more about it than I do. Okay. Like maybe she doesn't, but you want that third party validation because people that are close to us, right? They don't often listen to us. That's why sometimes your closest friends and your family are the hardest to get on Plexus, but they'll listen to a stranger. Okay. The other thing about a three-way chat is I can tell somebody something that you may not be able to because you are close to them. So I can ask about their budget. I can say, like, you don't want to keep taking that, or whatever you're doing right now, of course it's not working because of XYZ, whereas you can't say that because you're so close to that person. Okay. So you put them in the through a chat, but then you give the person, your upline or your power partner, a heads up, just in a separate message. Hey, I put you in a chat with Amy. She's got thyroid issues. I'm going to introduce you, and then take it from there. When you put someone in a three-way chat though, and you introduce the conversation, then you need to be quiet and stop talking. Okay. So many times I've been put in a three-way chat and then the person just keeps on talking and I can't get in a word edgewise. And I'm like, why am I even in here? Okay. And I know sometimes it's just that nervousness and you really want to talk to them about Plexus. You really want them on it. But the key to a three-way chat is don't ask permission. And then once you start it, you don't want to leave the conversation. You want to sit back and let that third party validation happen. And that's a really, really good way to learn how to answer so many questions, how to overcome so many of those common objections that we all get, whether it's price or FDA approved or a scam, or I don't want to join anything, or whatever the objection is. It's a great way to learn how to answer those questions. Because, certainly I talk to people and they're not ready for Plexus, but very rarely, once you learn this skill of really how to talk to people and how to, talk confidently and add the value that they're going to see in Plexus, you're going to start getting more yeses. You're going to start getting so many more yeses than you do no's. And I'm talking like no's forever. Once you kind of learn that skill of confidence and belief, always assume the sale and use positive language, give them the decision, make them help them come to a decision and give them permission to tell you no. Oftentimes that is enough for them to actually say yes. Once they realize you actually aren't attached to the sale, they'll say yes. I've had so many people on my team, we call it the takeaway. If you have somebody that's been ghosting you, or they keep saying they want to do it and they don't, and maybe you've even asked them like, hey, I'm sensing some hesitation. What's going on? Like, why are you hesitating? Sometimes they won't even reply to that. But what we do is we do the takeaway and we're saying, listen, you know what? Plexus, it doesn't sound like now's a good time for Plexus for you, which is totally fine, but I'm actually going to take you off of my client follow-up list. And then when you're ready, right, you know where to find me again, but it just doesn't sound like now's a good time. Oh my gosh, 99.9% of the time, even if they've ghosted you for like the last 8 messages, they're scrambling and they're like, oh, no, I'm sorry. Like, I've been busy. I really still want to. It's just not been a good time. So when you do that takeaway and you detach and they realize like, oh, she wasn't really just waiting around for me to order. She really is like out helping other people. Then they come back and oftentimes they will stop ghosting you. So it is 8:29. Guys, I hope this was helpful. I know I kind of talked all over the place tonight. I had this great idea that I was going to put all of these things in numbered order and give you like 8 tips. And so apologies, I just kind of spoke all over the place, but I can put my notes in our thread and share it with Sarah and Kate to share with their teams. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you are not traveling tonight or tomorrow, spend some time and send messages to your people, letting them know that Black Friday comes tomorrow. Black Friday specials are announced tomorrow morning. They run through Sunday. And then a big, huge Cyber Monday is coming. So do the work tonight, do the work in the morning, so then you can really spend time with your family and you can disengage and not have to worry about sending messages while you're spending the holiday with your friends and family. Hope you guys have a great, great week. Bye, guys.